you very much, Kinga. Dear friends of values, I am very happy to be here, and in the occasion of this conference, I can celebrate with my husband 50th anniversary of our marriage. Really, I'm very pleased that it is in Budapest. Allow me to remind you for 4 sentences mentioned this morning by our Hungarian colleague. These sentences, I hope you remember, and these sentences from Hungarian Constitution are very, very important, because these 4 sentences 10 years ago started the problems between European Union and Hungary. And I hope, really, and I wish that it is not one of path of freedom in the future of Europe. The concept of freedom is one of the most important concepts of our civilization, as it is why we are trying to define freedom in the new post-communist conditions. We may not have realized then that the freedom means the ability to choose with responsibility, often between good and evil. But in order to make such decisions, one must be able to see the difference between right and wrong. Only if we know the commandment, "Thou shalt not steal," can we understand that taking someone's money, car, or house just because we want those things is wrong. We need morality as much as the sailor needs a compass. Without it, we would be lost in the endless ocean of freedom. Moral relativism abolishes the categories of right and wrong. Freedom without God, however, it is no longer subject to the constraints of conscience. Its limits are defined only by the boundaries of social rules translated into laws which are enforced by force if necessary. It is therefore the duty of the Christian Democrats not only to be politically active, but also to bear witness to his life of faith in a world from which both God and man are disappearing. The notion of power and freedom in politics encompasses various aspects of what we know from experience: relations between institutions, government, influence, authority, violence, manipulation, or, looking at the other way around, a measure of freedom and autonomous decision-making. After the fall of the Iron Curtain, a united Europe became our free perspective. We understood it primarily as an area defined by 4 freedoms: freedom of movement of people, goods, services, and capital. We also understood that to make these freedoms a reality, a compromise was needed. The Europe to which we were heading was the promised land of cooperation, but also of mutual respect, because without respect, there can be no fair compromise. With the adoption of the Treaty of Lisbon, and in particular the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union, the balance of trade-offs has been upset in the name of the quest for greater actionability. The effort to build a single economic space began to transform into an effort for political unity. Before a bond of natural affinity could form between the members of the various European nations, there was an attempt to centralize power relations. In retrospect, the approval of the Treaty for Europe and subsequently the Treaty of Lisbon has opened up space for power manipulation which can completely ignore the will of the citizens in order to achieve the goal set by the elite. The European Union and its institutions have, especially in recent years, become the target of criticism for depriving us of the freedom to make our own laws and implement our own political decisions. Let's go back nearly 60 years. The encyclical Pacem in Terris were written at the time of the Cuban crisis. Divided into two camps, the world faced a nuclear conflict that could have had immeasurable consequences. The choice was between war and freedom. But even after mostly 60 years, not much has changed. The nations are subject to the law of fear, which the encyclical wanted to overcome. We have a war, we have a crisis. In many parts of the world, people feel unfree. If we read the encyclical Pacem in Terris and focus on the issue of relations between people, and this is also true of the people of Europe, we see four basic principles that help us to find our way in the same way that the four cardinal points help travelers in unfamiliar terrain: north, south, east, and west. Truth, justice, love, and freedom. These four words, this compass, are Christianity's most important contribution to the resolution of coincidence and international conflict. How do we use this compass? How it is handled by a community that defines itself through a Christian, Jewish, antique heritage of thought? Very ineptly. Perhaps our greatest emphasis is on the principle of freedom. The desire of some European nations to come to terms with their colonial past goes so far as to limit the effectiveness of economic aid, and in some cases. The problem is that the European Union's foreign policy has completely forgotten the principle of truth. It replaced it with utopian wishes and visions of a world ruled by the ideas of the French Revolution, liberty under the strict supervision of the state, equality as sameness, and a false fraternity. Truth and responsibility have disappeared. Europe, like Slovakia, grew up on Christian foundations. And also in recent decades, we have done our best to forget these foundations. We still hold in our hands a compass pointing forward: truth, justice, love, and freedom. But we must learn to use it again. The encyclical Pacem in Terris can serve us as guide. In 2003, the Jesuit Georgetown University organized a conference in Washington, D.C. to mark the 40th anniversary of the encyclical Pacem in Terris. The inaugural lecture of this conference was delivered by Professor Peter Steinfels, who said, among other things, "I think we should all repeat these words: truth, justice, love, and freedom as a kind of prayer and a measure of our moral and political thinking these days." Is that true? Does it serve justice? Is this compatible with love? Will it promote freedom? There are the questions we should be asking ourselves whenever we decide on international policy issues, when we decide on Europeans' free path into the future. Thank you very much.